I chose her best friend's father. That summer in the guest house started like any other chapter of my life, quiet, unremarkable, safe. My best friend Olivia had invited me to stay at her family's estate while I figured out my next move after my marriage disintegrated. I told myself it would be an escape, a pause, not the beginning of something dangerous. I was 34, my hair spilling past my shoulders in waves I barely brushed anymore, my heart still raw from betrayal. But then there was Marcus, Olivia's father. Twice my age, he was supposed to be nothing more than the man who gave us lemonade on the porch and offered wise fatherly advice. And yet, from the very first evening, something unspoken began to hum between us. I had always considered myself someone who knew my boundaries, someone who never looked twice at her friend's father. But the first time his gaze lingered a moment too long, the ground beneath my feet shifted. Before that summer, I believed I had stability. I worked as a freelance interior designer. My marriage had seemed calm, even if I secretly knew there was no deep passion there. And Olivia had been my anchor through every storm. We had spent countless nights laughing in her kitchen, wine glasses in hand, talking about dreams we had not yet dared to chase. When I said yes to her offer to stay in their guest house, I thought it was simply to heal, to regain myself, to breathe again in a space where no one expected perfection from me. Olivia's father had always been courteous, reserved, his life a neatly folded set of habits. I never imagined that sharing the same property would complicate everything. The betrayal that brought me there still burned under my skin. I had found out about my husband's affair through a single text he had not meant for me to see. "I can't keep lying to you. I've been with her for months." The words seared into me like fire. I confronted him the next morning, only to hear him say that love had simply faded for us. His voice was cold, almost bored as he packed his bag. The slam of the front door echoed through the empty house, leaving me staring at the bare walls that had witnessed years of my life. I could taste bitterness in my mouth, as though the betrayal had a flavor, metallic, sharp, impossible to wash away. That afternoon, I called Olivia in tears, my voice thick with disbelief. And she insisted I come stay where she and her father could look after me. Heartbreak hollowed me out. Days felt like long corridors stretching endlessly, each one ending with the same dull ache in my chest. I would walk across the polished floors of the guest house, listening to my own footsteps echo like a reminder of how empty my life had become. My dreams at night were sharp flashes of memory, his familiar laugh, the smell of his cologne, and then waking to the reality that love could vanish without warning. Marcus rarely intruded, but I felt him in subtle ways. The quiet knock on my door with a tray of tea, the note left with a book he said had helped him once. And yet, sometimes when our eyes met across a dinner table, my pulse would hammer in my ears in a way I could not control. It was wrong. Every part of me knew that. He was Olivia's father, a man with his own reputation, his own life, the kind of man you were never meant to want. But grief does strange things. It strips you to your core, and when someone sees you there, naked in your pain, the recognition is intoxicating. One rainy evening, I found myself tangled in a conversation with him that lasted hours. We sat in the dim glow of his study, the scent of aged paper and old wood wrapping around us. He spoke of losing his wife years before, of the quiet ache that had never truly left him. I told him about the night I read that text, about the way betrayal changes not just the heart, but the way you see yourself. His voice was low and deliberate, his hands calm as he rested them on the armrest between us. And then, an accidental touch, my fingers brushing his as I reached for my teacup. The air shifted. My breath caught in my chest. And for that suspended moment, the The world narrowed to the warmth of his skin against mine. If this confession has you holding your breath, hit like and share, because you will not believe where this connection leads next. After that night, I noticed him everywhere. In the garden where he trimmed the rose bushes, in the morning light on the porch when he read his newspaper, in the way he looked up when I entered a room, as if measuring how I was holding myself together that day. Olivia was often busy work, travel, her own whirlwind romance, and so hours passed where it was just us on the property, exchanging something more than words. It was a slow burn, the kind that coils around you until you cannot tell where the want ends and the need begins. I started to feel something I thought had died in me, desire paired with safety. The knowledge that he saw the mess I had become and did not flinch. One afternoon, during a storm, the power went out, and we found ourselves lighting candles together in the kitchen. Rain hammered the windows, the smell of paraffin mingling with the faint scent of coffee on his shirt. I laughed at the awkwardness of fumbling with matches, and he looked at me in a way that sent a shiver down my spine. No bold moves, no dramatic declarations, just a gaze that told me he understood every unsaid thought. We talked about trust, about risk, about whether love could truly be rebuilt after loss. He said, almost absently, "Sometimes the second time is the one that counts." And then he turned away, leaving me with my heart in a storm far fiercer than the one outside. The pull between us was dangerous, fragile. I knew Olivia would never forgive me if she thought it was anything other than friendship. And yet every time Marcus stood a little too close, I had to will myself not to reach out. It was not lust alone, it was something deeper, something that had grown in the quiet moments when no one was watching. In those late nights on the porch, listening to crickets and the distant rush of wind through trees, I felt my grief ease, replaced by an ache that was almost sweet. And for the first time in months, I began to smile without forcing it. I still do not know where this will lead. We have not crossed lines that would make the world point fingers, but in our hearts, something has shifted permanently. He is my reminder that love is not always neat, and sometimes the people who are off limits are the ones who see you most clearly. And though the danger makes my pulse race, the truth is, I would rather have this flicker of life, this slow burn, than return to the woman I was before. If you crave more raw, emotional confessions, please like, share, and subscribe. Your next chapter awaits.